So many people come into the United States with a visa and then they end up staying because they love the US. In fact, I'm one of those people. I also love the US. I was born here. But hi, I'm immigration lawyer Hillary Walsh from New Frontier Immigration Law. And if you are someone like me who just absolutely, you've seen the world, you've seen where your home country is, and you just love being here in the US, I can relate. But what I want to tell you is if you come to the US, even if you come in with a visa or a border crossing card or with a student visa or whatever it may be, and then you overstay, you have a kid who's 21 years old, you may wonder, do I need to go to Ciudad Juarez in order to fix my status? And the answer would be no. If you came in with a visa and then you decided to stay and there were no other fraud or misrepresentation or other things that have happened, you don't need to go to Ciudad Juarez. Your adult US citizen child, so your son or your daughter, they can petition for you because you already legally entered. People who have to go to Ciudad Juarez are Mexicans who want to consular process. And the reason they need to consular process is because they entered the country without permission. And anyone who entered the country without permission, if you stayed longer than about 6 to 8 months and then you're about to leave, you're going to have a problem if your only family member is your US citizen son or daughter. The reason is because once you leave to go to Ciudad Juarez or just to return to Mexico, you're going to put a bar up behind you coming into the United States. It's going to put up a bar behind you as you leave. And it's going to be either a 3-year, 5-year, or 10-year bar, depending on if you were apprehended. There's like a lot of different variables on how long you have to stay out of the country. But there's no waiver for this time that you're forced to stay out of the country through a child. It has to be through your spouse or through your parent who has status. So if you need to get a waiver for having been in the United States, let's say for 5, 10, 15, or maybe 20 years, you were here for 20 years and you didn't have permission to be here, but now it's time for you to go to Ciudad Juarez for your green card interview, I would say you need to talk to a lawyer first. Don't leave. Because if you're not married to a lawful permanent resident or a citizen, or your parents or parent is not a lawful permanent resident or a citizen, you are not going to have a basis for a waiver. And they're going to tell you that in Ciudad Juarez, they're going to deny your application and you're going to need to stay in Mexico for 10 years and wait until that time has lapsed for you to be able to come back into the United States, for you to get permission to come back into the United States. So it can be very problematic. So if you're able to file for your green card here in the US and your kid is your only US citizen in your family, let's have a conversation about, let's make sure you don't have any other issues, because anything else that needs to be waived, your child is not going to be able to be a basis for the waiver. The reason Congress designed it this way is so that immigrants wouldn't be able to come to the US, have a child, and then use that child as the anchor baby to be able to help you fix your status as the parent who unlawfully entered to begin with. Okay, so that's why they've designed it very specifically so that kids cannot help us fix. Our kids cannot help us fix in most circumstances. It's only in these really limited circumstances where they're actually able to help us fix. Okay, so if you're thinking about leaving and you only have a US citizen child as your family member and you're thinking about going to the consulate in Ciudad Juarez, please push pause on those plans. Call me right now. Call me or message me. If you're listening to this on YouTube or if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, whatever, wherever you're hearing this, stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. Don't book plane tickets. Don't get in the car. If you're in El Paso, take the right exit so you don't find yourself in Mexico, because we need to make sure that you're not going to leave and need to stay basically permanently. Okay. Like for more than 10 years, that's basically permanently, right? It's moving when you thought that you might be able to just go to an interview. So Fixing in the US through kids, possible. Fixing in Mexico or in whatever home country you may be. I use Ciudad Juarez because I'm in Arizona and so many of my clients are Mexican because we're next door neighbors. That is problematic. Going to Ciudad Juarez, going to Canada to the consulate, returning to Jamaica for your interview at the consulate there. These are all going to be very problematic if you've spent very much time in the US without permission, illegally. So don't do it without talking to me first. My name's Hillary Walsh. I'm an immigration lawyer for over 11 years. I cannot believe that somehow it's been over 11 years. I remember when it was just the first year. But at New Frontier Immigration Law, we're here to help you live free in the United States. But we want to make sure that you don't find yourself in any booby traps. And a lot of times leaving the country can be a booby trap. So we want to help you fix without leaving if possible, and then make really informed decisions if fixing without leaving isn't a possibility. Give me a call and I'll talk to you soon.